Okay, this session we're going to talk about the furrow, specifically furrow creation. And so I want you to try to envision yourself as the furrow. It might sound a little weird, but what would you how would you feel if you were treated this way? In these conditions that you're planting in, or that your closing system is doing, or fill in the blank. If you were to furrow, how would you feel? So the ultimate goal is to have no evidence that the planter was ever there. So we've got our furrow here and our seed in the bottom, and the goal would be to blow these sidewalls out, or to not have any defined sidewall. So if there is a defined sidewall when you're digging behind the planter, then that's not what we want to see. We want to see there be no evidence that the planter was ever there, and there's just a seed located in the soil space that just kind of appears out of nowhere. So as far as digging behind the planter, so if we have if we got two rows here, we're looking down from above, you know, we got a 30-inch row here, and you've got your seeds along here on each row. There's kind of two strategies to dig behind the planter. You can take a shovel and kind of dig this way slowly towards the furrow, and see if you get any, as you approach that furrow line, see if you get any slab to break off, you know, as you get within an inch or less to that furrow line. You know, that would be an indication that there's a defined sidewall. So that's one method, is to kind of dig perpendicularly to the row. The other method would be to just take a spade and dig a cross section aggressively across the furrow, and then start digging in parallel with the furrow, and start chopping away at the furrow as you dig up, say, on this paper, and you're looking for air pockets specifically. So if this all got boiled up in here by your closing system, but there's, you know, a little bit of space, or even if it's soil that's sort of collapsed, but it just has too much air particles mixed in with the soil, that's not what we want. We want a firm but not compacted environment around that seed. So, you know, this method of digging a cross section and then digging and chopping away until you find the seed can be very, very effective at finding air pockets or tweaks that you need to make with the distance between your closing wheels, or tweaks with the down pressure of your closing system, because I really feel this air pocket thing happens way more than we all think. Even in all of our own fields, we maybe think that, oh, that's the neighbor. The neighbor has air pockets. I don't have air pockets. I would encourage all of us this season to dig behind your planter in this method. The other thing that you can do is, if you would chain or strap up your closing system, that would leave the furrow intact, so to speak, and then take your little digger tool and chip at the sidewall. Actually, poke the sidewall with your digger. You know, poke right through the sidewall with your digger. And if if you poke the sidewall and pull the digger back and it leaves a little slit there, that's the perfect shape and size of that digger, that's a slicker sidewall, then you're gonna want to leave. Again, think of yourself as the furrow and what closing system you have there to help blow that out. Whereas if you stick your digger in and it just completely crumbles, well, then you probably don't have enough down pressure on your gauge wheels up here to create a firm sidewall. You would risk that furrow caving in before it gets to the closing system. So you don't want it to be so loose that when you stick your digger in, it just falls apart. But you don't want it to be too hard where you stick your digger in that it leaves a super defined hole. You kind of want it in between. You kind of want the sidewall to be ready to fall apart when the closing wheel comes in. That will give the closing system the best chance for success. Also thinking about furrow creation and depth control and that. On this planter, actually, that you see behind me, I'm going to show you a tool in a minute that I kind of rigged up here in the shop to go along row by row and check our seed depth. Put all the T-handles in the same position and then went and check each row. And on this planter, there was a 1/2 inch variation from the worst row to the best row, or from the deepest row to the most shallow row, I should say. 1/2 inch variation, which is kind of what you hear, or the industry standard, I guess, as far as variation goes. So if row 2 was your most shallow row, and you set that's the row you chose to dig, when you were setting your depth, and you set your depth on all the rows based off of row 2, which happens to be the shallow row, you're up to 1/2 inch deeper than what you really think you are. So we're going to transition, or I'm going to go grab that tool and we'll show you kind of what I did to build a little shop stand to be able to check your row depth. So here we have my little homemade system that I came up with. I'm going to show you. It's just a simple floor jack, and then I have a circle on the bottom of it that reaches up, or corresponds with this particular floor jack. So that sits in there, and you wheel it up underneath the row, under the gauge wheels, and jack it up until you hit the depth bottoms out on the mustache. So I've got, let's see. You can see I've got those markings every 1/4 of an inch. I've got a line on both sides, on both of these 4x4s. There's a line there so that when I jack it up, I can stick your head down there and see what line you're to, and then document it and go to the next row. Also, I've got these bubble levels on the corners, on both corners. So that's a bullseye bubble level, so that when you jack it up, you can level it up so that you're consistent row to row when you measure, and your board's not tilted forwards or backwards or that kind of thing. So again, we did this planter here, and we were 1/2 inch from the shallowest to the deepest. So then we went along there with a Sharpie, and I don't know if you can see over here. I don't know if you can see in there or not. That U there. So I took a Sharpie and wrote on there what what needs to happen on that row to make it even out. And on deer planters, I will also say that the T-handle, if you turn the T-handle upside down, that is an 1/8 of an inch adjustment. You know, each notch is 1/4 of an inch on a deer planter, but if you just take the handle and turn it upside down and put it back in the same holes, that's an 1/8 of an inch adjustment, shallower. So I did use that technique when I leveled out these rows to adjust up or down using that 1/8 inch increment piece, just by flipping the handle upside down. So be aware of that as another little adjustment piece. So again, just to kind of summarize, the furrow, you want to think of the environment that you're in and the job that you're doing, and if you're the furrow, is my closing system set up to achieve, you know, this goal that we talked about? Is my closing system set up, and am I doing a proper job to achieve this, given the environment that I'm in? So just try to think through that as we get started planning this year and evaluating your closing performance and making it like the planner was never there.